Yes,
Yay!
What is up, everybody? Yay! Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 218.
Yeah.
Very excited about tonight's episode. I'm riding a high right now. I'm a little delirious. Something happened.
Okay.
I'm a little delirious. My brain's a little mushy. I
Uh-huh.
apologize to everyone, but I do have a delicious beer to help me get through it. This was courtesy of a good friend, Destiny. It's the High Five Hef, and we'll talk about why the high fives are necessary to a whole crew of people that helped out with something pretty big this last weekend.
And you're going like monster beer. That is not a regular size
Listen,
bottle of beer.
Monster Run from this weekend deserves a monster beer.
True.
The goal is to finish it before the end of the show, so you guys can all see.
It's going to be a fun end of the show.
Like live streaming 100K. Let's live stream drinking an entire monster beer.
Why not?
See what happens. But since we're living in the future here, tonight's episode, we're going to recap what occurred this last weekend, the first ever in the history of the internet. Live 100K, reaching 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. We decided to celebrate by running 100 kilometers. It wasn't just myself. It was a whole crew of people, including my wonderful wife, Kim, and some of the best friends anyone could ask for. A really wonderful community came together and helped not only me accomplish a goal that I thought was impossible, but I think conquered some of their own goals out there. We're going to talk to some of the crew tonight. Some of them are actually working, so they're at their jobs. They might try to join us a little bit later, maybe in the post show or something like that, but we're going to definitely tell you all about what happened this weekend. Behind the scenes, there wasn't much behind the scenes because it was all live, but there's a lot of logistics involved in the 100K, whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to talk to you all about what happened this weekend, the first ever live streamed 100K with some of the crew and everyone that participated. So get back. Sit back. Get back to your regular selves. Sit back, relax, grab your beverage of choice, and get ready for some Ginger Runner Live episode number 218. It begins right now. Ginger Runner.
Yay!
Yes! What is up, everybody? Welcome to Ginger Runner Live, episode number 218. Thank you for taking some time out of your busy Mondays to spend a little bit of it with us. We're going to talk about something that happened this last weekend that it might get emotional at times, only because it was something that has been difficult to build up to for myself mentally and physically. So hopefully there aren't going to be too many tears shed tonight or any of that sort of emotional stuff, but I definitely want to make sure up front that you guys know that I'm going to be as open as possible with a lot of the stuff that I've been going through over the last year, just so you guys know kind of the why we did what we did this last weekend. Recently, we reached 100,000 subscribers on the Ginger Runner YouTube channel, which is a milestone I've had in my head since I started the channel as like an impossibility. There is no way this little side project that I'm starting on this channel, reviewing gear and running events and, taking my GoPro along with me and stuff like that. There's no way people are going to want to watch this stuff. I'm doing it for myself, for fun, so I can go back when I've got grandkids and show them, like, look what grandpa did, stuff like that. But over the years, people started watching and people started following along and clicking that subscribe button and joining some of the journeys and sharing their stories with us. And it's inspired us, and it's just become a thing. It is no longer a YouTube channel. It is a community. And we reached a milestone that, again, I thought was impossible, 100,000 subscribers. YouTube recognizes any channel with more than 100,000 subscribers by sending them this, it's a plaque. It's a silver mirrored, beautiful piece of art that they send to channels with 100,000 or more. They have varying levels of beautiful plaques depending on your subscriber level. But when I received this, I didn't share it publicly. I didn't take a picture of it, and I didn't do anything like that. I did share it with some of the Patreon crew members and stuff like that because it's special. But I was saving the reveal for something in particular. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Kim's here. Kim's in the chat room. What's going on in the chat room?
There's a lot of people very excited about the shiny play button in behind us. Lots of people saying they got nothing done on Saturday thanks to you.
You're welcome. I'm lucky I didn't pick a business day or a work day to do this.
And I do want to remind you guys, we are live. Our guest today is the host of the show, the man of the hour here. So if you do have questions for Ethan or some of his crew members that are going to be joining us shortly, please ask them in the chat room. We have a lot of people just congratulating you. A good friend and top longtime Patreon member, Matt Feldhag, is in the chat
What's
room.
up, Matt?
Matt says, way to go, Ethan. And everybody's very excited. And everybody's very excited that we're potentially having grandchildren.
Oh, God. Let's not go down. Come on. We don't need to go down that road. Kim, Kim has a beer. Just so everyone knows, Kim is drinking tonight. So please, no internet rumors of, oh my God, Kim's pregnant. So yeah, before I get too deep into some of the reasons as to what we did this last weekend, running 100 kilometers in celebration of the 100,000 subscribers, we do have some people to thank. And then, of course, we're going to introduce our guests, which are some of the crew that helped with this weekend's endeavor. So yeah, Kim's in the live chat room. If you have questions throughout tonight's show, she will forward them to myself and the entire crew. So I think this will be a really fun opportunity to get to chat with everybody.
Already tons of questions rolling in, by the way.
Perfect. I'm excited about that. Big shout out. So we are able to do what we do. We are able to do these live shows, do the reviews, the films, all that stuff, due to our supporters on Patreon. YouTube, believe it or not, doesn't pay the bills, no matter how many subscribers you have. In fact, it's gone quite downhill in the last few years. But because of Patreon and all of our wonderful supporters on that platform, we are able to do this full time. This is our job. This is our life. And it's a pretty amazing thing. Shout out to a couple in particular who are at that top tier. Chris Lee from Hong Kong. He's an incredible runner himself. And he does some really great things for the community in Hong Kong, including this organization called Trailblazer. They showcase all the trails locally. They have races and events that they're putting on. He's a wonderful guy, raising money for charities quite often. And we've been working in collaboration on a number of things. He's a wonderful supporter and longtime viewer. So thank you, Chris. Rick Bjarnason from cheekymonkeymedia.ca. It's a web design company. They're currently redesigning the gingerrunner.com website, and the GR website will be a part of that as well. The GR is formerly known as GRVR. We're calling it the Ginger Runner Global Run, which is going to take place here very soon. So I'm very excited about that. But Rick Bjarnason is an ultra runner himself, training right now for Sinister 7 and Fat Dog 120, two huge events in Canada. He's a badass ultra runner that runs a web design company, kind of that balancing of these two huge endeavors, and he's a super cool guy, and it's great to have him on board as well. And finally, Brian Sands, longtime supporter, longtime viewer, wonderful human being with an amazing story, losing over 100 pounds. He's deep into his journey now. He ran his first marathon last year, currently training for his first 50K, which is coming up in 26 days.
Yeah, I think like 3
26
weeks,
or 27 days. He's going to be running his first 50K. This guy inspires me all the time. I ran a lot of the miles this weekend for this guy because I knew that his journey is just beginning. So big shout out to Brian, and thank you for all of the support. If you would like to support us through Patreon, you can. It's very easy. Patreon.com/thegingerrunner. For as little as $1. It goes a long way. Okay, enough of that. Let's talk about the first ever 100 kilometers in celebration of 100,000 subscribers. It is something that I came up with about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, as we were coming up on the milestone. Before I even get into what it is and kind of the idea how it fleshed out, we have guests tonight who participated in this weekend's event, and there are reasons why these individuals I wanted to bring on board. And so let's introduce them now. We have 3 of, was it 6, 7? My brain is mush.
7.
Yeah, we had like 7 kind of rotating people throughout the day, but these are 3 of those individuals. You're going to see them from left to right. I'll try to do my best here to tell you who's who. Jeff Fisher on the far left there. Up on top, Darren Burris. And down bottom, Mr. Jeremy Wolf.
Yay! Thanks for being here, guys.
Thanks for being here, guys. Let's start with Jeff. Jeff, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you coming to us from currently?
Yeah, so thanks for having me on, guys. Currently, I'm actually in my office. I'm in Portland, Oregon, and we are going through traffic Mageddon. Basically, all the major arteries are shut down, so I thought it'd be safe just to stay at work. But yep, just a trail ultra runner out here in Portland, Oregon.
Awesome to have you join us tonight.
And you guys might recognize Jeff. He was in the Wonderland film with Gary.
That is correct. Jeff and his partner in crime, who was a part of the crew, but unfortunately is not able to make the live show tonight, Jen Love. Shout out to Jen Love, who's currently working at an awesome sports shop just outside of Portland. She's probably watching on their screen in the shop right now. So shout out to Jen Love. This is her sad face from work because she couldn't join us tonight.
I do like her hat though.
I said the same thing.
Yeah.
And I apologize very briefly because the audio is going to be a little bit out of sync. We have a lot of Skype callers on, and that tends to throw the computer into backlog mode. So the audio might take a second to click in for us, but our guests should be totally good. So I apologize a bit about the lag. Nothing we can do about that except get a faster computer. Continuing with our guests that are joining us tonight. In the top half of the right-hand side of the screen is Mr. Darren Burris, who's been a longtime Patreon supporter and just a really great friend. We've gotten to know each other quite well over the last couple of years, and an ultra runner himself. Darren, tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're coming to us from.
Well, I'm sitting in my apartment in Seattle, like 3 miles from you guys. I'm just some random guy, dude. No, just some random guy you found. No, I also ultra runner. Just do my thing, man. So.
Yeah, Darren's been crushing some big distances himself. He's currently training for the Bigfoot 100K. This weekend was a great step in that direction. He got some good miles out there, running a lot more than I think he anticipated.
Yes, indeed.
How are your arms feeling?
Oh, they're fine. I was rotating back, right, and left, and I know Jeff was doing the exact same thing. So
Yep.
I wanted to ask like whose arms were sore from that, because I was rotating so quickly that I didn't really feel it that much. But I think everybody held the camera at some point in time.
Yeah, just to kind of explain what we're talking about, we'll talk about it in a second, the actual technical stuff, but there was a gimbal and there's some like electronic equipment involved that runners had to carry, and it was 2 pounds almost of stuff like batteries and gimbal and phone. So I imagine some arms are quite sore. And finally, our third guest joining us currently, this guy is a badass ultra runner, has won races, placed top in his field. He's coming off of this incredible run called the Backyard. It's a backyard barbecue. No, it's a Backdoor to Baker. It's this cool line that he and Chrissy Mail, another guest of the show, created, basically running from their back doors in Bellingham, Washington, up to the top of Mount Baker at 14,000 some odd feet. It's a crazy line, and he just for less than that,
not quite 11,000.
24,000 feet high. I don't know why. I was thinking Rainier, but Rainier's at 14, but Baker's at 11. We'll say,
yeah,
you're close.
We'll round up. We'll say 20,000.
Yeah.
So Jeremy, tell us a little bit about where you're coming from and about your kind of ultra running life right now.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm a longtime listener, third time caller, I think, on the show. Did we lose some beer over there? Are we okay?
I got it in.
Okay,
we're good.
Good. So come from Bellingham, Washington, and yeah, I'm just a guy who likes to run and balance the family life with the work 9 to 5 grind. So just trying to squeeze it all in and have fun along the way.
I love it. It is awesome to have all you guys here. It's not like I got enough of you this weekend. I honestly, you guys are such great friends, and those who are part of the crew that we're going to mention here in just a second that could not join us tonight are such good people, good friends, that even though we spent 14 hours with everyone on Saturday plus a little bit on Sunday, I would do it again and again and again every day. Maybe not the running part, but hanging out with you guys on a regular basis. You guys are amazing. So those are 3 of the crew, as I mentioned, and we'll be telling stories tonight. They'll be able to relay a lot of the information. Those who were not currently able to make the show, Jen Love, who we just showed you a picture of, very sad picture. But then also Caitlin Gerbin. Caitlin Gerbin has been on the show before, recently placed 2nd at Western States.
Yes.
She was able to come out and join us for a little bit. Shout out to Gavin Woody, who is an incredible ultra runner here in the Northwest.
Has also been a guest on the show.
Has also been a guest on the show. He brought his son out, and they were playing in the park. We didn't get a lot of miles in with them, only because a bit of parenting duties took place, but his son was a hit. during the live stream. He's a badass little mountain biker. So shout out to Gavin, and a shout out to our good friend Destiny Sun, who also drove all the way out there to
She's
show
a good morale
love.
booster.
Great morale booster and a beer provider here, which is what I'm drinking right now. So let's talk a little bit about just what this thing was and why we were doing it. So about a year and a half ago, I came up with the idea. I knew we were going to be approaching 100,000 subscribers. My mind was blown. I was like, there's no way we can just get to this milestone and not do something cool. And since it's a running channel, the idea was, what can we do that's running related that can celebrate the fact that a running channel reached 100,000 subscribers? And I was like, well, we have to run. It's just a matter of what's the distance. And it made sense to me to run a certain distance for every subscriber. So rather than running 100,000 miles, I thought, let's run a meter for every subscriber. So it's 100,000 meters, which works out to 100 kilometers. And that's kind of where the idea came from. Some of the logistics involved in that, though, I didn't want to just run a distance and say, hey, everyone, I ran 100K for you, and like maybe make a little video or some little fun thing and edit it together and post it 3 weeks after I do it. I wanted to do something that's never been done before. So one, no YouTuber has ever run 100 kilometers for reaching 100,000 subscribers. But two, as far as I know, there is no YouTuber who has live streamed an entire 100-kilometer event, or really, I don't know if it's ever been done ever. I know that UTMB does some live streaming, and they did the Mont Blanc Marathon recently, both of which are highly produced, probably a couple $100,000 budget sorts of live streams. We don't have that budget, so the idea was to do something on an epic scale at a beer budget. And so this idea kind of came to my head to live stream a full 100-kilometer run. And how could we make that possible? So we had to find a location. I was going to do it on roads originally. I remember that. And unfortunately, road running for 62 miles is not ideal on the body. I know people have done it. There's lots of professionals out there that can. My body tends to get pretty worn down on road. And I wanted it to be beautiful. So we kind of came to the decision of, let's find a trail that we can live stream from. And here in the Northwest, there's some parks in the city where there's signal throughout, but I didn't want to run some of these city trails. I wanted to find something a little bit more kind of out there. And we were very lucky to find a park nearby called Soaring Eagle that has a lot of miles of trail that aren't too technically complicated. Like we wanted to have like mountain bike access, runner access, and it's great. It has all these trail miles. We were able to put together a 6.8 mile loop. I figured I'd do it 9 times, add a little bit towards the end, and rally together a group of individuals that can follow with the camera and see if we can't get this done. That brings us to our guests tonight. So these are the individuals, a handful of them, that we managed to convince to come out to just outside of Seattle to run alongside me at a very slow pace for 14 hours, holding this gimbal with my iPhone, which I surpassed my data usage, unfortunately.
Our unlimited data.
We apparently went over unlimited data because about 10 hours into the live stream, AT&T decided, yeah, no more on that phone. So Darren very politely opened his phone to us, and we were able to stream from the rest of that. So let's talk to you guys a little bit. Jeff, what was it like to be, like, when you got the email call or whatever, when I reached out to you, what was your first thought? Like, did it make sense what we were doing, or was it like, I don't care, I just want to be a part of this, or how did it feel?
Yeah, so my fiance Jen and I actually were in Seattle, I think, a few weeks ago, and we just reached out to you and Kim, and we're like, thought we'd come swing by, see Gus. Actually, really was just we wanted to see you guys, but we also wanted to check in on Gus, and we wanted to gift him some Frosty Paw ice creams. And so this is kind of where the idea was first kind of brought to our attention. Ethan was just kind of, casually just kind of brought out that big metal YouTube press play plaque, and he's like, yeah, I kind of did this, and I haven't told many people about it, and I kind of have this idea for a way to celebrate it. And he asked Jen and I, and we're like, yep, not even a hesitation. So that's kind of how, it is in the trail community. It's, you just, it's not an easy, a lot of these things aren't easy to do. And they, as selfish as they are very much a community and team based thing. And so whenever we can step up and help a fellow trail runner out, we'll do it.
It took like seconds for them to, I mean, not even a fraction. I was like, hey, I have this idea. And they're like, cool, yeah, we're in. And it required them to drive up from Portland. So that's a bit of a commitment. And there was no question. They were just in it. And that was like one of the coolest things. And it's the same with Jeremy. So Jeremy, when I reached out to you, it was this week as well. It was something that, this was kind of an event that I had kept kind of personal and private. But your name in my head was like the one that I wanted to come join. And what was it like to get the email or have you ever done anything like this, or kind of what's your story? What's your connection to it now?
Yeah, I've done some running with a gimbal before, so I figured maybe that is why I maybe planted the seed in your head of giving me a call.
It was actually because you're really cool.
Yeah, that too. I'm not just can hold the camera, but no, I really learned a lot from this. Like you mentioned, the Baker trip I did a couple of weeks ago. Like that trip was not possible without the great crew that Chrissy and I were able to pull together. And I feel like I'm kind of on the spectrum of like what running has given me versus what I've given back is kind of skewed a lot towards in my direction. And so I was like, hey, this would be an awesome opportunity for me to return the favor and kind of give back to the sport and to my friends who have helped me out so much. So when I got that email, and with the addition of both my wife and daughter being out of town for the weekend, I had a big time hall pass. So I was like, yes, I can go cruise down to Seattle and spend as much time as I can helping you get to 100K. So yeah, the timing and the motivation worked out great.
It's awesome. And Darren, you've probably known about this project other than Kim the longest. Since you live in Seattle, we get to run often and we get to talk pretty often. What are your thoughts on the project before and then undertaking and then now after?
Well, first off, when you said that, I said, "You want to do what?" So I think that was my first reaction, and then the next thing that popped into my head was logistics, and the technical, I think, effort and endeavor behind it was kind of the thing that was really, really, really intriguing to me. But also, too, we've chatted obviously plenty of times before about you want to get those bigger distances and stuff. And I was like, oh man, this is like a twofer right there. So I was all in as soon as I heard it, and I'm all up for a challenge too. So as soon as something could be presented like, hey, I have this challenge, how can we tackle it? I said, let's do it. We'll figure out everything out as we go. So
yeah, it's pretty cool. Looks like we're joined by Jeremy's daughter. Happy birthday. Hi.
Big 7.
That's
Big
right. It is.
7.
That's right. It's Big 7. Yesterday was 6. Today it's 7. I want to remind everyone we are live. Kim's been pulling tons of stuff off from the site. So we've introduced our guests. We know kind of a little bit of the backstory of why we did this. We'll talk more about some of my why. But let's get to some of this live stuff.
Yeah, so I just want to remind you guys we are live. If you have questions for Ethan or any of the crew members that are joining us today, please pop them into the chat room. First question is from Deb, and Deb asks, was it harder or more motivating to run a 100K live streaming? Did that give you more motivation, or did it make it more difficult?
Both, actually. It's a great question. It was something that I thought about a lot on Saturday. Why am I doing this? Why am I broadcasting this live? And please, I'm also going to pull up the crew. You guys can jump in at any point too, since you were a part of the live stream behind the camera or in front of the camera. I think that's important to figure out, like, how was it for you guys? Was it weird? Caitlin, I remember talking about it at one point. She's like, it was really weird. I was just running and talking, and then I realized I was on live camera. And I stopped running and kind of pulled back out of camera. So for me, it was both motivating and not great, because I knew that if I had any lows, and the lows I did have, they were going to be public. They were going to be not just public for a little bit, but the entire thing. So like if I had a full-on blowout, like throwing up or having a major meltdown, it was going to be on live stream. And that was kind of the deal, was that if something goes wrong, just keep the cameras rolling. If there was bone sticking out or something like that, then of course we would cut the live stream. And I think I even told Darren beforehand, I was like, emergency situations, we can cut the stream, but for the most part, it's just kind of keep everything live. Maybe give me some space at certain points and that sort of thing. Just be ready for that. But the reality is I wanted it all on camera. And I think it was also a motivating factor because everyone was watching.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like, we had hundreds of people watching at any given time.
Which was a surprise to us to begin
big
with.
Time. We were thinking, Kim and I talked before, and we were thinking maybe 10 to 20 people would watch.
Yeah, maybe a very small handful of people would be popping in and out, and that's
they'd jump in, they'd jump out. Like, why would I watch this for X amount of time? But when you think about hundreds of people watching a live stream of someone running, in my mind, I was like, I'm running amongst hundreds of people right now, like cheering constantly. So I can't stop. I can't, because that would suck. People would still, of course, be really supportive no matter what happened. But it was actually a really big motivating factor too. Big time.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the live thing? Many of you have probably been on like this live show. I know, Jeff, you hadn't been on this live show, but you know of it.
Once.
Yeah, Jess.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, of course.
I
Wonderland.
called you Jess. I'm going to just start calling you Jess now.
No worries.
Jeff and Jen turns into Jess?
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Something like that.
You're one cohesive thing. But like, what was it like for you guys to come into this event, know it's going to be on camera the entire time, no ability to like keep anything off camera or anything like that? What was that like? We'll start with Jeff. We'll go to Darren, and then we'll go to Jeremy. Jeff?
Yeah, so I think I talked about this a little bit during the run, and just when we got breakfast or brunch the next day. I think it's a bit of a fine line, because I think you're going to have people who, see trail running as a way to escape the masses, and that is their private time, and that, you're going to remote areas where maybe you don't want everyone to know where that is, or kind of exploiting that. But I think that there's something really beautiful in streaming this, and I think one of the most beautiful things is you don't often see the highs and lows from point A to point Z. Oftentimes you have these videos that highlight certain segments, and you never really know exactly what has been clipped, what has been, removed from these videos. So I think it's a really unique thing to watch someone as relatable as you, Ethan, and see you go through those live streaming on demand. And I think that is a huge value to that. One of the questions that was, is there something strategic to when you walk or when you run? That's something when you're running, you're like, well, it's a no-brainer. But a lot of people in the community don't see these things. They hear about, elite runners, mid-pack runners, this is their time. They ran a 100-miler in 24 hours. Well, we use the word run, and we are trail runners, but there's a lot of walking that happens. And so I think some of us take it for granted that not everyone knows these things that happen in between those bookends of an adventure run or a race. So I think it was really important to show that.
I love that comment. I guess I haven't really thought through that totally, but there's never been, if someone's like, oh, I wonder what it's like to run 100 kilometers, you can literally now sit down for 14 hours and know exactly what it's like to run 100 kilometers from crewing, pacing, talking through things, dealing with nutrition, going through a low point, talking about the low point, climbing out of it, having a high. Every single second. And that's weird to think about, because that's never existed. People are like, oh man, your videos are great. Like watching Amongst the Evergreens or something makes me want to run a 100-miler. Like imagine if that was 100% live streamed or something. That would be the weirdest thing to be able to go back. It's weird right now to be able to go back and watch Saturday. I did a little bit today, and I was like, it was more captivating than I thought to listen to what you guys were saying, like the conversations that you guys were having amongst yourselves and like that constant support. It was really unique. And you're right. It kind of takes you. I'm just now thinking this. That's why I'm talking. But I'm realizing like it's showing you parts of trail running that I'm sure some old school people would be like, that's for the trail. Like leave that for the trail. The conversations that are out there, it's like private time. It's people's personal time, whether they're alone or with friends. But it's also captivating because it's showing you something that is super private and personal to a lot of people in a very public way. It's interesting. We'll talk about whether or not I'll do it again in a little bit. But Darren, I'm curious about your thoughts as someone who maybe hasn't done live streaming or any of that kind of thing. What was it like for you?
Well, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of similar to Jeff. There's like very similar aspects about this, or I guess to my answer, it's now that I'm thinking about it, I'm kind of torn between the aspect of like live streaming the entire like aspect at times, because I found myself to be a little bit guarded at times, because I definitely knew we were live streaming the entire time. And make no mistake, I mean, some of the stuff that we were discussing, I found myself, oh, do I want to go into this topic or not? When I was on the trail, when I run, even when I'm running with someone, I'm never like that guarded essentially. So
Totally.
I just trying to be honest with viewers, right? As well as I think the other thing that was pretty interesting about it is, and now that I just realized this, is you were with people the entire time. And I think that's something that I think to clarify as well. Sometimes when you're running an ultra, especially at this distance, you go miles and you won't see anybody. Correct. Depending upon your pace. And so I think that's another element that actually kind of played into this as well. And actually, I think personally, it made the day go by a lot quicker. Being with people the entire time. I mean, I remember I was because I was running in between loops and stuff. I was talking with Kim about that in between. I said, "Oh my gosh, we're already 5 hours in. Wow." So yeah, so that's my general thoughts on that. So
yeah, it's interesting to look back and realize that we had a really nice soft rotation of people throughout the entire thing. So Jen did every loop with me because she's training for Cascade. So of course, make sure to mention that Jen did run 100 kilometers as well. She's in every second of that video, which is pretty cool. Kind of that silent crusher. She's going to be doing quite well at Cascade Crest. That's going to be awesome to see. But otherwise, people rotated in and out. So Jeremy, you arrived a little bit late morning. I forget if it was loop 3 that you started or loop 4. But at that point, we'd already kind of done a couple loops, been live streaming for a little bit. Did you catch any of the morning live stream? Did you know what you were in for, or was this like full on deep end?
Yeah, I came in totally blind, but I was just kind of jazzed by the whole concept. As you kind of mentioned earlier, we're starting to see some races that are going live streaming, like the UTMB races. And to me, for you doing this, I just was kind of excited about, like, this is kind of innovative here. And I think, I mean, this is the way that it's going to go. There's going to be more access to broadband and data, wherever we go. And so, as time progresses, we're going to be doing these runs and being able to take viewers and friends virtually along with us to these places. And I hear there's debate either way. It's kind of like this Instagram effect of showcasing all these places, maybe to, take some of the wild out of going there. But yeah, I think it was cool from a technology standpoint, and I see more of that coming in the future. And I think on other factors of the run, just like the ability for you to get motivation from your viewers. As I was there, Jeff did, I think, the first lap, and then he did an excellent job, so I kind of learned a few tricks from him. But just being able to see viewers chime in and say, "Hey, Ethan, go!" We would kind of recite some of those to you as we could see them pop up. So you weren't just having encouragement from your crew, the people there the whole time. I know you were kind of feeding off some energy from your viewers. So I thought that was a cool aspect. And it felt a little video game-esque to me as well, actually running there, because I'm looking at it, trying to read the comments coming up. So it's like I'm kind of like captured in a video game, but then I look up and it's like it's real life and this is really happening. So it's kind of a little surreal, kind of virtual back and forth there, running and watching you at the same time.
It's surreal we were in the woods. We were running on single track. We were logging off miles, talking to each other as we do in all of our training. So all of our training is exactly that too. But it was also weird to have that little back voice going, "You're on camera," and there are, X number of hundred of people that are literally watching us right now running through the woods. That was a weird voice / presence. I had never, we've live streamed often. We're live streaming right now, but I had never felt that sort of additional layer to what we were doing. It wasn't off-putting. It was odd. I love that we did what we did on Saturday. No doubt, it's a technological marvel. I don't think there's many places in the U.S. where that can really happen. But in addition to that, it's a unique first thing, and to kind of reflect back on it, there's so many different. Yeah, there's like positives and negatives to it. Right now, the positives are far outweighing any of the negatives as far as like. Obviously, the result is good. I got it done. We all got it done. If it had ended differently, I wonder if I would have regretted the whole thing, or
I don't think
it would have been interesting. Again, we are live. Kim's pulled a lot of questions from the chat room, so let's get to some of these.
I was also going to say, I think Caitlin might pop in sometime here.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, did she just text?
She
okay.
did. Yep.
I'm going to invite her.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure how
I'll try
that
to get her in here.
works.
Stand by, Caitlin. Coming at you.
She's texting now.
Yep. I'm going to invite her in. Go ahead. I'll take care of it.
I just wanted to give a shout out. We have Sarah and Ingen in the chat room, 2 Patreon supporters and friends that actually popped by to see Ethan run a little bit and give a little bit of support on the weekend. And Ingen actually had a question since we were just talking about this topic, Ethan. I just want to make sure you can.
Yeah, I'm kind of multitasking, but
just making sure you can multitask.
Just gotta make sure Caitlin's logged into Skype.
Ingen asked, how was it to run with others the entire race? Normally there's so much alone time, which we were just talking about. So did you find running with others for the entire duration helpful? Did you have times that you wanted to just be on your own and like be in your own head?
Yes. So, sorry, let me just cut to the white shot so we get our guests too. Caitlin, if you're watching, make sure you're logged into Skype so I can add you. For some reason, I couldn't see in there, but yeah, text us, we'll figure it out. Sorry, can you read the question?
I've deleted the question now. The question is deleted. The question was in response to you running with people the entire time. This is from Ingen, who was there with her husband and her kids at the event.
Oh yeah, no, Ingen, thank you for coming. Of course, I know Ingen, but the question itself.
Yeah, did you like that experience? Did it help you, or were there times that you were feeling like you wanted to be alone and have some space?
Yep. Again, another kind of yes and yes answer. The surrounding myself with friends was on purpose. I needed to bring the people who I trust along for this ride, and the main reason for this, and I'll kind of start talking a bit about some of the mental stuff now. I last year had a really bad running year. I started off the year with a really bad injury that just took me out of a lot of my early races in the year. Over the last year plus, I've been dealing with a lot of anxiety issues. It's something I've dealt with since I was a kid. It's nothing new. It's not out of nowhere, but it's all evolved into different varying forms of anxiety. With Cascade Crest 100, with my ultra running journey up to that point, the anxiety was, running was my way of dealing with it, and running helped cure it to a sense. Like, I would basically face my anxiety head on. I would do these runs that sounded impossible, were these physical feats that I had no business doing, and I would accomplish something. I would finish, and it would give me this sense of relief from the demons that have been haunting me since I was a kid. Unfortunately, in the last couple of years, the anxiety has really stepped forward and has morphed. So it's been less of a running has healed it, and it's been more of a running is triggering it. So a lot of my long runs and long training outings would either result in some sort of panic attack on the trail. Like, this is all stuff that those who suffer from anxiety they're probably going to nod their heads, but it's all it's dumb thoughts. It's like, I'm going to die. I'm on the trail and I'm going to die. Irrational. Like, you're not, but your brain is telling you you are, and the physiological symptoms that are associated with those thoughts trigger the anxiety, the elevated heart rate, the feeling of passing out, all sorts of like just really bad physiological effects. The thoughts can range from anything like, I'm too far away from my car, I'm never going to be able to get back to it safely, to the weather's going to change and I'm going to be out here and suffer. all sorts of really bad thoughts. So in 2017, it was just a lot of that. A lot of my runs were ruined, and Kim has been the most incredible rock to a lot of this, and she's been patient and supportive and like completely understanding. And we managed to get through last year, and towards the end of the year, we had moved to Seattle, and it wasn't because of the anxiety, but it was certainly it was something that gave me a lot of excitement to be back to the environment that I love and grew up in. And so running in the Northwest actually started to help. Of course, there are days, and there still are, and there still will be, that it's really challenging. And this 100K was an ominous, terrifying thing for me for a really long time. So I kept pushing it because I was worried that I wasn't getting the training in, because I wasn't getting the long runs in. I wasn't able to get the adventures in and do all these things that once I loved and now were giving me stress. So I kept pushing it and doubting that I could do it. And I hadn't run longer. So 100 miles was my longest distance in 2015. In 2016, I ran a 50 miler at Sun Mountain and a 48.9 miler at Carkeek. Those two events were fine for me, but they were really difficult mentally, like because I was dealing with a lot of stuff during those. So I knew for me to kind of get back on top of this stuff, I needed to do another full-on face this shit head on and just try to beat it. So the 100K allowed me to do the one thing that made it work, and that was control it. I was able to control the distance. I was able to control the environment, who I was with, how it went down, basically all the rules I was creating. So anything that was outside of those rules or something that happened outside of my control, I was surrounded by a system that would not allow it to fail. I could fail the distance, but it wasn't going to be a failure. So I picked the park, I picked the crew, I picked the gear, and I live streamed the shit out of it because I needed the hundreds of people to watch live to also be there to witness this. Last week was really tough. Last week it was I had my phone in hand multiple times, ready to tweet or email everybody to cancel it.
Let's be honest, this was going until the day before.
Friday night at 10 p.m.
It was potentially off.
Basically
the day before.
Friday night at 10 p.m. I was going, this isn't going to happen. It's not going to happen. I love these people who are driving a long ways. I think Jeff and Jen had already driven up from Portland. I was like,
they're on their way.
We'll go do something with them, but it's not going to be running 100K. I didn't advertise it. I didn't promote it on social media nearly to the ability of our platforms.
Mm-hmm.
But it was the most solid my brain has been in years since Cascade Crest. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know how it worked out this way. I think it had a lot to do with just putting aside all the reasons why I didn't want to do it and just doing it, and knowing that even if I failed or no matter what happened, I had this incredible team around me. I just needed to at least start, because I think it was this fear of failure that kind of kept me from wanting to start. And so I did. And what's beautiful about it is that the whole day, I had lows for sure. You can go back. There's 14 hours of footage. You can go back and you can see where it's low. But I got it done, and I was a bit of an emotional mess at the end, and that's because that's years of baggage coming to a head right there. So I guess I want to take this moment to, we have three guys who are here, and Caitlin, sorry, what was she saying?
This is.
Oh, that's why. Okay, we're gonna get Caitlin on here in just a second. Let me do that before we even thank everyone.
I also need to say, while we're taking a quick little intermission here, we have Kim Wrinkle, longtime supporter, longtime viewer, in the chat room. And Kim did something pretty incredible this weekend. Also, Kim ran 100 miles on a 1 mile loop for a cumulative of 23,000 feet of gain.
Yeah.
Over the weekend. So congrats, Kim. We're big fans.
And I'm gonna have to move the names around. Hooray! Let me move the names, because right now I'll introduce Caitlin Gerben.
Yay! Sorry about that, Caitlin.
Oh, I haven't used Skype apparently in like a year, so I had to like, get a new version.
I'm just getting everyone's little names situated and stuff like that. So Caitlin Gerben also joined in later in the day. Caitlin, fresh off of Western States, second place, by the way, kind of a big deal. Incredible. She's one. I'm sorry, her name is not Jared Hazen. I have to change that name.
It's the same.
Caitlin Gerben. There we
She
go.
would have beat him at States.
That's what I was gonna say. She finished. Yeah.
So Caitlin was also part of this invite crew. I've run with her a couple of times now in the Northwest, but like I'm a huge fan. Her and her husband are badass ultra runners. They dust me on the trails, but they're so kind and generous with their time. And like every time we've gone out for a run, like I went for a run with Caitlin and we joined up with the big crew after for like halfway through, and she was just so patient. And like I kind of told her ahead of time, I'm like, I'm kind of having a rough day or whatever. And she's like, no problem. And we just hiked and ran, and she's great.
I might test Caitlin's patience one day and go for a run with her. That'll really test your patience.
She's great. She's a fantastic pacer. So I invited her in, knowing that she's off of Western States, thinking the one time Caitlin, I might be faster than Caitlin. Surprisingly, Caitlin, you had a big Saturday yourself. Can you talk a little bit about what you did?
Oh, no, I mean, I had plans to go for a run with a friend near Mount Rainier. So I did that and then came and joined in. I was planning on joining for at least a lap and then just hanging out and supporting and crewing. And then the second lap, I think multiple people had already been in for a lot of laps, and I got there and they're like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm going to sit this one out. So then I'm like, no one was there to carry the camera. And as you guys were about to leave, I realized, wait a minute, Jen, who's been running for like 10 hours already at that point, was going to carry that. So then I jumped in for the next lap, which was really fun. So yeah.
After you guys left on that lap, I was like, Caitlin took one for the team here.
She did. So Caitlin ended up running about a 50K on Saturday with your runs combined, right?
Wasn't really planned, but no, it was so much fun to be a part of the day. So it was totally a blast. I was really happy I could be there and run with you guys.
I'm saying our name labels are all messed up.
The names are messed up?
Yeah.
Oh, here. Sorry, guys.
Oh, boy.
I had fixed them in my preview screen.
Jeremy was both Jeff and Jeremy.
Yeah. It was still messed up.
As long as I'm still Jess, that's all I can.
Yeah, you're still Jess. I kind of want to find out from you guys what your favorite part of the day was, and maybe maybe there was a daunting part or something that you were a little less ecstatic about. Jeremy,
I was going to say, let's be honest. Everybody's favorite part was hanging out at the aid station with me and Gus.
Oh, there was briefly, we'll get to those answers, but briefly, there was a question about why didn't Kim run any loops? This was in the live stream, and then also tonight on the live stream.
Because I can't keep up.
That is not why. We had a very sick dog over the last
Gus
few months.
Is fresh off of
surgery.
Big surgery, and he can't, like, if he was healthy, he would been able to do a loop or so, but he is on restricted exercise, and he's still fresh enough off of surgery that it's just easier if I'm the one that's taking care of him.
Yeah, so Kim had to stay at the car at the aid station with Gus, and basically she was crew chief, so she was wrangling everyone as they arrived and that sort of thing. So unfortunately, she wasn't able to run with us because we had dog babysitting duties, but she was the best crew captain.
And I had company all day long.
All day long. You had friends to hang out with. So Jeremy, let's start with you. Maybe what was like one of your favorite parts of the day and one of the, I don't know about this sort of parts of the day?
Yeah. Favorite part of the day for sure was lap 9, because I could just tell when we headed out on there, you had a little bit of a hop in your step, and you're like, okay, we're gonna do this. You kind of had a little bit of reserves left, and yeah, you were just charging. You were charging hard, man, and that was awesome just to see you had paced your day, you had done your nutrition right, your hydration, and so when you got to the end, you're ready to bring it home. So I think the energy of Jen and Jeff and I were with you on that last loop, and everybody was pretty stoked just to see you. You were rallying up some just the climbs that you were walking earlier, so that was really awesome to see you kind of bring it home like that. So I think that was definitely kind of a high point for me. A low point, yeah, you were just a little quiet. I ran a couple loops with my 1-year-old golden retriever who doesn't have the best trail manners, so little afraid of live streaming him like lunging and like barking at people from time to time. So if there's any like dog trainers out there who have some words of advice, you can send them my way. But yeah, other than that, man, I just thought you ran smart like the whole day. So yeah, hats off to you for executing well.
Thanks, brother. Thanks for doing the extra laps and getting some miles in with us.
Yeah, it was a blast.
Jeff Fisher.
Oof, yeah, well, I'm glad that Jeremy said that. I think one of the most amazing aspects of this was, well, when you came in, I think it was like between lap 5 and 6, you had kind of said, all right, guys, I'm going to walk most of this next lap, probably won't talk much, and you kind of were hitting your low.
Mm-hmm.
And when you left that aid station, when you left that trailhead, it was quite the opposite. And to see someone, not only to be there present with someone kind of transitioning from their lows to the highs, but I think it's just such a beautiful thing to be able to document that. I mean, from lap 6 to 9 to when you finished, everyone was able to see a runner, a relatable runner in our community go through the motions. And that's something we don't always see, like I said earlier. So I think that was just absolutely amazing to see you could get into your flow state for that last bit, run every hill, have the light hit you just perfectly. I mean, everything was working for you. And
that lighting,
just such a wow.
The lighting guy nailed it.
Yeah. The low point, man, I couldn't. I know it's probably kind of taking the easy way out, but there truly wasn't a there's always the balance of how much we engage with you while you're going through your lows, how much do we get in your face with the camera. That's just something that I think we just had to be respectful of at certain times, and then sometimes take more of the wheel and the commentary while you're going through through those motions. So that just took a little bit more intentional thought, but not for lows for me, not really.
You guys were fantastic about that. All of you held the camera for at least a loop, and we have our camera crew. I'm just realizing you are the 4 camera carriers. It was really nice to have you guys keep the space when you needed it, and then also jump in there with commentary when you needed it. And you guys, every angle was beautiful. Like I watched part 2, most of it today, because I really kind of wanted to try to relive those last 2 loops. I feel like those were my favorite trail running moments almost ever. And it was really neat to see everyone's kind of unique style. I have to commend both Jeff and Caitlin for like running up ahead, jumping over stumps, and like doing crazy camera work. And it's legit for the first time with the gimbal, stuff like that. It's really
It was so much fun.
And I think Darren did a pretty good job.
That's why I'm getting to Darren now.
He's okay.
So Darren and I practiced a little bit with the gimbal the week of, but I'm really curious to kind of, since Darren has a close connection to this, like organizing it with me and stuff like that. What's your connection, or what are your memories, Darren? Let you answer the question.
So I actually, you guys just beat me to it, because that was actually, you just named off my single favorite moment there, was when Jeff was holding the gimbal, and I'm not even joking, like backwards jumped over a tree stump and still held it and was still kept going. I was blown away by that particularly, because I think Caitlin and Jeff, specifically Jeff, for what I could see for the most part, was actually reading off commentary while they were running. I was so afraid I was going to catch a toe and eat it, and then down goes the live stream the entire time. So, but no, that was specifically my favorite moment. My least favorite moment was probably, although you didn't know this, Ethan, was probably around lap 6 or 7 when you came in. There was something happening with your phone where it was not charging, and I did not say anything to you. Although I figured out the situation later, what was happening, but I didn't let you. I was like trying to fumble around with the gimbal and stuff in the background. But the bottom line was the phone wasn't charging. I was like, oh my God. I was like, we have to figure something out quickly. If we don't, then turns out it was just a battery pack issue. I had to switch over battery packs and a few other things. But that was probably the low point for me. But I will say, though, this whole experience literally is the embodiment of ultra running. Like I saw like everything out there. I saw adaptation. Like I saw people like you coming in and people basically picking up the slack where they needed to. Like, hey, do you need water here? Hey, do you need this? Without even like having to ask, people were doing stuff. And I think like just that general support of not just yourself, but every single person that was out there was literally everything I expect ultra running to be. So,
yeah, this is not the reason why I'm bringing you guys on, and I want to make sure everyone that's watching live knows this or watches or listens to the archive. It's that this is not just Ethan running 100K. It is 100% a team. It was friends from around the Pacific Northwest coming together, and I mean that, from across the Pacific Northwest, coming to jump in when someone needed some assistance, and it became a team effort. From my wife to my good friends, people who I run with regularly, people who I don't get to run with enough, and everyone just dropped whatever they were doing, came, supported, and you're right, adapted to everything. Like they didn't know what pace I was going to run or any of that kind of stuff, but everyone just, there wasn't a single complaint all day from anybody, even though there could have been 1,000. I got stung by a bee. That was my big complaint.
Twice.
And twice. And people were like, you'll be okay. And I'm like, yeah, but it hurts. You'll be fine. Caitlin Gerbin, what about you?
So I think my favorite part was on your last loop, Darren and I walked out to your second calorie spot where Darren was going to give you a bottle full of Coke. And the last time I'd gone through that loop and you stopped there, you know, we went through pretty quickly, but you had stopped and kind of talked to Darren really quickly, switched your bottles, you know, and so we're on your last loop. So we're thinking like, we didn't have any information about, I mean, yeah, we saw you stream, but coming through, we weren't really sure how you were going to be doing. And you like didn't even slow down. You came through that intersection and just blew past. And like, I think you grabbed the bottle, but you were just like, you could tell that you had that look in your eyes. You're like, I can taste the finish. I'm almost done. And so seeing that moment where you're, you know, 50 something miles in and you're getting close to the end, you've been out there for, you know, 13 hours, and seeing you just roll through being so like fired up and ready to go. And that strength was really cool to see. So I think we left and we're like, whoa, that was fast. and then we walked back and then you also came in on that. So you, on that last lap that you did, you had been running so consistently all day, and of course I wasn't there the whole time, but Kim had been tracking all of your lap times, so we kind of had an idea. And I was getting ready because I wanted to go out for the last 2.5 miles or so that you added on, and you came in 10 minutes before we expected you to come in, so you just were flying on that last lap. So I think both of those were moments where I was just really inspired, and it was really cool to see you just crushing those last few miles. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There was a moment in the last loop. 9 loops was daunting because, you know, there's 6.8 7-mile loops. Each one I knew was going to take anywhere between an hour to an hour 30. We were falling into that 90-minute zone pretty consistently, and that includes like 8 station stops. I was going through the video today, and you can almost to the minute just click ahead to 90 minutes, and you're in that next interloopal period. So the timing was working out pretty well. But it was the last loop I knew all day, and I remember mentioning it to you guys a lot. I was like, I want to save a lot of juice for that last loop, and there's this rock. I want to jump on the rock, and I wanted to run the uphills, and I wanted to do all these things. And Caitlin, you can probably attest to this, and Jeff, when you run Tianaway coming up, you'll be able to attest to this, and Darren, after 100K, you'll be able to attest to this, and Jeremy, you can probably attest to this. There's something about a distance of 50 miles or greater where you get like it's tunnel vision because you've pushed this is the first time I felt it to this degree. Even
I would almost say this counts for even less than 50 miles.
Sure.
Only people that have run marathons have experienced what you're going
to
talk about.
Sure. There's this moment on that 9th loop where I didn't care about anything else in the world. I literally was only seeing a circle, and it happened at mile 1.1 of that 9th loop. I was like, I look like Jim Walmsley right now. I'm moving at 5 minute per mile pace. I feel invincible. There is nothing that can get me down. This is incredible. I've never felt like this before. And it was the first time in any ultra I have ever felt that good so late in that race. And it took me to this weird place I'd never been to before. It was like a higher plane. And then right at 1.1 miles after that, it like disappeared. And so for the rest of the loop, I was trying to get back to that. But my pace, it just kept like pushing my pace a little bit faster and faster. I just had so much purpose. And then, of course, you're like, I'm almost done. Whatever it takes, I just need to get to the finish line. And that totally took over.
But Ethan, it's interesting that you say, I feel like, Jim Walmsley, because to feel that flow state, it has nothing to do with where you place in a race or where you are in time and adventure run. Like everybody, as long as they run I always say a steady, smart, and I'm forgetting the last S. But if you run, a steady and smart race or an adventure run, you can experience that. Anybody of any, fitness or level in trail running. And I think that you just showed it, that you don't have to be, an elite runner to experience this euphoria that, this run high that, that we see maybe more so with the elite runners. Anybody can really attain that. And I think that just live streaming that was just something so unique and so beautiful.
I realized I also meant looked like Jim Walmsley. Like I felt skinny and I felt fast and I felt like my legs were doing that, like pew pew. But I totally agree. I think I phrased it wrong, but I also totally agree that there is that flow state. I haven't felt it that intensely before, and it was there is no doubt anyone can feel that at some point. It was really neat. So I can only imagine what it feels like to be winning a race or something, and to be in that zone of just such good vibes and happiness, and that it was weird. It was really neat because I felt like we were all succeeding, and to hear your guys' voices, like all of you were saying things like, "Whoa!" Like, "Oh my God!" Like, what happened? Like that just kept getting me deeper into it. It was really neat. It was really neat. So it was like this combination of the team kind of coming together and executing that moment for me. It was really, really special. Let's get to a couple live questions. We'll move into the post show and we can talk about some of the other things maybe we're not covering.
Yeah, I'm going to jump on this and I'm going to tell you what my lowest low of the day was.
Please.
Is when we drove up to the parking lot at 5:45 in the morning and we realized that the porta potty was out of order.
I forgot about that.
I've been waiting for so long to see that.
This park has a porta potty at the trailhead, and I've used it before, and it was fairly good. Yeah, compared to other porta potties and public toilets, it was actually pretty good. So another logistic as to why we chose this was the proper porta potty. Porta potty. Unfortunately, this last Saturday, even though 2 days before we were there to do some recon, the porta potty had a bright pink ribbon and a sign that was like out of order due to Darren. Do you remember what it said?
No, it looked like it was just on a piece of cardboard that said out of order. I have no idea why, but my heart dropped and sank when I went there. But
and I'll be honest, you guys, when we drove up, Jen and Jeff and Darren were all already there. I thought you guys were pranking us.
It was like a prank.
Oh.
I was like, this is how today is gonna start.
You gotta go, Ethan. Too bad. But nice little side note. Didn't poop all day. Didn't need to. What was the hashtag, Jeff, that Jen started?
Jeff said, "Don't encourage her."
Oh,
don't encourage her. Yeah,
I will.
Hashtag no poops all day or whatever it was. So yeah, didn't need to use the porta potty, but there's like 8 other people out there that probably did. I went back on Sunday to the park to sweep because we had a couple pieces of tape left out that I wanted to make sure that we cleaned up. The porta potty was open to the public.
No way.
So at some point between Saturday night after the park closed to Sunday when the park opened, someone decided to use that porta potty and just fix it. Whatever was broken was fixed.
I pranked all you guys. I just let them not joking.
Damn it! I knew it. Let's get to a couple of live questions here.
Yeah, this is a great question from Theodore K2. Theodore asked, "You mentioned the anxiety and thoughts that you wouldn't be able to do a run like this again. Do you feel this run was cathartic, and are there more ultras upcoming?"
Right now, I feel amazing. And I think anyone that's finished any ultra goes through this phase. Like right after you finish something, it's like this, wow, I can't believe it. And no matter how, like even if you've run 150Ks, I'm still sure you could finish a 50K and go, "Oof, that was awesome." Unless it was a terrible experience. But even people who I know who have finished big long races and had a terrible experience, they finish and they still are like, I'm so glad I stuck it out. I am riding this wave right now. It feels incredible. It feels like I did something that I legitimately thought was impossible. Something that a couple of years ago would seem like, oh yeah, it's not a really difficult 100K. You know, I think I had 5,000 something feet of gain for the whole thing. It's all on runnable trail. Sure, let's do this. But right now, where I am and where I've been for the last couple of years, and having done what I just did on Saturday, I am ecstatic. And I'm like thinking of projects in my head of like, oh, now that run that I've been thinking I would never be able to do, maybe I can do it. I just ran 62 miles and feel pretty good. Maybe I can go do the enchantments or all these big runs around Rainier and stuff like that I've been dreaming of, but have just doubted my ability to do. So yeah, I'm riding the high. As far as what's next, I'm going to hold off for a bit. I'm going to get back to training smoothly whenever my body will allow me. And as long as the body is holding up, I'm going to try to continue to ride the wave. So we'll see what's up next. I'm not going to like, I'm running blank and blank. I'm just going to let it ride for a bit. And hopefully the blues that comes after a big event like this doesn't sink in too quickly, because I really want to. Our dog is also snoring
Gus
incredibly
is very
loud. You okay?
uninterested.
Let's get to one more left question, maybe for the crew.
There was questions earlier about doing the Quickie question quiz for you. Have we done it already?
I feel like I've done it.
Do we know if we've done it?
We can do it for this. We can do it for this event, but let's get to a question for the crew. We'll do the Quickie question quiz before we go.
I don't know if I have any questions for the crew.
Okay.
I'll even more questions.
I think that if we do the Quickie question quiz, I do think we should include the members of the crew who have not done the Quickie question quiz.
We'll do a whole round robin with it.
Yeah.
Let's actually do that now. So the Quickie question quiz, for those of you who are unfamiliar, is something we like to do with our first time guests. Mm-hmm. In this case, because we have such a rad team of people who help do this thing, I think we can kind of tailor some of these questions to the event that we all participated in on Saturday. But I'd like to hear everybody's answers. So we'll start with Jeremy. Go ahead.
Yeah. Nope.
I was
going to ask the question, but
yeah, we'll let Kim do the asking. But we'll start with Jeremy, then go to Jeff, Darren, Caitlin, and then me.
Yeah. So do you want to? Is there only certain ones that you want to do, or you want to just rip
that
through
one?
them? All right. You guys, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. Jeff's not ready. Oh, he's ready. Okay. What was your first race, Jeremy?
First ultra race?
First
race. I don't know, like the mile in 4th grade gym class.
Jeff.
Heartbreak Hill Youth Race, Newton, Massachusetts. I did it in jorts, and I was a young 11.
Jorts. Darren.
Definitely the 1 mile race in junior high. Remember that vividly.
Caitlin?
Some Wisconsin walleye weekend kids fun run.
Ethan?
I don't know. Next question. No, I'm just kidding. The mile. It was the mile in 7th grade. I remember it vividly. The mile in 7th grade.
Favorite place to run besides Soaring Eagle Park, Jeremy?
Soaring Eagle Park. We'll go with Glacier National Park. Bring your bear spray.
Favorite place to run, Jeff?
Mount St. Helens, Lewitt Trail.
Darren?
Alpine Lakes Wilderness area.
Caitlin?
North Cascades.
Soaring Eagle Park.
I said other than Soaring Eagle.
Honestly, I don't think I've run there yet. I like the I-90 corridor here, right outside of Seattle, has some incredible trails that we're still exploring, like the Glacier, the Baker Wilderness and stuff like that, for sure. Right now, yeah.
Was there certain questions you wanted?
Just skip the rotor trails. Let's go to bucket list race.
Yeah, bucket list race. Jeremy.
Bucket list race. I love the Dolomites and haven't raced there yet, so I'll say, what's the big Lavaredo? Let's put that one on the bucket list.
Jeff.
Teanaway Country 100.
I think you're gonna check that one off the list here soon.
Maybe. We'll see.
Darren.
I definitely want to do Cascade Crest.
Caitlin.
The 2019 Ginger Runner 500K, 500K.
Yes.
Yes. That was the best answer. Caitlin
You
wins.
started a trend.
Today, I actually thought like it would be pretty neat to do this as an annual.
We're thinking about making this a thing.
Figuring out some logistics. Like we don't have to run it, guys.
No, you do.
No,
500K.
No, but maybe we open it to the public or something like that. We'll figure it out.
Bucket list race?
I would love to do UTMB, but not during the race.
Mhm.
So like the week leading up, run the course, use the refugios, and then enjoy spectating UTMB. So for me, that's kind of like a bucket list thing.
Guilty pleasure TV show. Jeremy.
Guilty pleasure.
American
House
Girl?
of Cards.
Oh.
Yep, good choice.
The Bachelor or The Bachelorette.
What?
I prefer The Bachelor.
Whoa!
Not really guilty. I'm pretty open about it.
Darren.
Recently, Terrace House. Yep.
Caitlin.
Ellie and I both watched The Bachelorette last night.
Air
Some
high
fives. Ethan.
Right now, Home Improvement.
That's right.
We talked about it during the run. You can go back and you can watch the dialogue. But it's a show I grew up with when I was a kid. It doesn't age well.
It does not age well.
Tim Allen is quite the individual, but man, that is my childhood in a nutshell. I used to watch that show every week. Loved it.
Let's see. Maybe we'll just skip ahead here.
Sure.
Current running kicks. What are you currently running in, or what did you run
Soaring Eagle.
the 100K
Yeah.
in? Jeremy?
There was a lot of Hoka speed goats amongst the crew there I saw, so
Sure
I was
were.
rocking the speed goat 2s.
Jeff?
I wear the La Sportiva Lycans.
Spigo 2s as well.
Caitlin?
La Sportiva Lycans.
Oh!
Jeremy.
Don't forget, Darren wore the Hoka recovery sandals for the last
Oh,
2.2
yes.
miles as well.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
And Darren, did you get any
Wild
blisters from those?
Yes.
When we left for that last 2-mile section, and Darren's like, "Look at this," and he's showing me his sandals. I'm like, "What are you doing? Like you are going to trip on the last 2 miles of a 14-hour live stream because your feet hurt." I'm sorry.
I was like you, man. I was focused in the zone.
You nailed it.
The short to that was that I wanted to capture some stills of the final lap, and so I just looked at Darren right in the eyes, said, "You need to take the pack with the gear and the gimbal and the camera."
Oh,
Not
yeah.
even looking down and seeing the fact that he was essentially wearing like post-recovery basketball like flip-flops. I'm like, oh my god. So
Hey,
sorry,
man,
Darren.
adapt. No, man,
Yeah.
adapt, man. Adapt.
Well, I have to say that the live stream for the last 2 miles worked flawlessly. The capturing of the imagery was amazing. And Jeff, it was a smart decision because your photography
Yeah.
was
Right.
incredible. And none of us took photos. Like
Mhm.
we were, my phone was live streaming. Darren's phone was live streaming. Kim
I
took
was
some
playing
Instagramming
video
games. Most of us just weren't taking photos. So it's so great to have
Yeah.
some photographic evidence because a 14-hour live stream is not enough. I was wearing Speed Goat 2s to start, and then my little pinky toes started getting really sore. So I switched to the Hoka Nepali ATRs, which are no longer being manufactured.
And then do you want to just give a quick rundown of your gear head to toe just for people that are watching? Because there was a lot of questions about what water bottle you were carrying and what shorts you were wearing.
I'm going to answer all the gear questions in the post show.
Oh.
So if you would like to find out all of the gear that I wore, and even the crew that ran out there too, because everyone had their gear choices, Jen included. Like Jen also ran 100K and she had to have her gear all set. So we're going to talk all about the gear specifics, I think, in the post show. If you would like to join us for that, find out more information on that, it's easy to do. Go to patreon.com/thegingerrunner for as little as $1. You join us for all of our post shows. You can watch all of the archives of every post show as well. Every little bit helps, no doubt. So consider that if you have not already. But tonight we're going to go live here in just a couple of seconds for the post show and talk all about some of the gear. And then we had tons of questions still. I realized I talk a lot. That's That's what I do. So we'll try to do a minimal me and more crew.
That's what you do, and I think your beer bottle is empty. So that's really what you do.
I made the promise. It had to be done for the live show. I would like to again shout out our wonderful crew who are joining us here for this live show. So Jeremy, can you remind people where they can find you on social media? Tell them about your podcast too, and we'll go around the circle from there. But Jeremy, go ahead and start us off.
All right, real quick. Instagram's Jeremy Wolf Run. That's probably the best place to catch me. And I just launched a podcast called Parent Athlete, who's kind of geared towards parents who are balancing training and working and family life, and just interviewing folks who are look to be getting it all done and how they're doing it. So trying to share some insight there. You
totally
can find
worth
that
it.
on wherever you listen to podcasts. It's there.
Anywhere you listen to Ginger Runner Live, you can listen to this podcast as well. Recommended highly. And go give Jeremy a good follow and thank him for being on the show and helping out on Saturday. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for taking some time away from family and driving down.
Dude, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
You bet. Jeff, what about you?
Super quick. Instagram, Junebug 2008.
Give Jeff a follow. He'll probably be posting some more photos from this weekend. I know I will be. All of the photos over the next couple of days will be from Jeff's camera. He's got an incredible eye, and he's been taking pictures of all sorts of events around the Northwest and stuff. So lots of stuff coming, I'm sure. Darren.
That DJ Runner guy on Instagram, that's pretty much it.
It is literally that DJ Runner guy.
That DJ Runner guy.
And thank you, Darren. Really appreciate it too, man.
And extra thanks to Darren for coming over to our house the night before,
working
out all the tech
batteries
stuff
and tech
you.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
We'll talk about tech too also in the post. Because I know people had questions about that. Caitlin?
I'm on Instagram at Caitlin_G with a K and a bunch of Y's.
You see her first name spelled there correctly, so it's basically Caitlin_G. Go give her a follow and thank her as well for being on the show and for kicking ass on Saturday, running a 50K like 2 weeks out from states. Come on,
like no big deal.
Stupider things have been done.
How are you feeling today? Like fine?
Feel good, yeah.
Yeah,
good.
I felt like the pace. I wasn't worried because I knew that the pace was probably pretty mellow, but also you had time in between to kind of eat snacks and stuff, I bet.
Yes, and
Always
Kim gave me like an entire Tupperware full of watermelon, so thank you, Kim.
Nice, good choice.
It almost didn't get to you. Somehow it kept migrating back into our car.
And my wonderful wife, that would not have happened if it was not for you, because there were many times over the last few months where all I wanted to do was cancel the whole thing, even the night before, and you would not let me do it. You were patient. You weren't strict with it, but you were very supportive and a little bit leading me into the direction of not giving up. And it was because of that we did it and we actually accomplished it. I highly encourage you guys to go out and get yourself someone like Kim.
You can find them at.
You can find them at Canada. They require a bit of immigrating, but
the exchange rate is good. So.
The exchange rate is quite favorable. You are a wonderful human being, and you've stood by me since the very beginning, since this whole project started. This 100,000 subscribers isn't just for the Ginger Runner or the Ginger Runner channel; it's ours, and this community is an incredible community because of you as well. I love you to the end of the earth and beyond, and because the earth is flat. But you are an incredible human.
Science.
Thank you so much for being there for me on Saturday.
You're welcome. I know you do it for me in a heartbeat, and you've crewed me at multiple 50-milers, so thank you.
You're welcome. To those of you who are watching live tonight, thank you so much. To those of you who watched live this weekend, thank you. Yes. I know many of you had the live stream going all day. Maybe you were at work, or maybe you were at home, or maybe you were on your long run or something, but the live stream was there going the whole time. That is incredible to me. It means the world to us. This was a really unique experiment. I'm so proud of the end result. Going back and watching it, it blows my mind that we were able to live stream an entire event like this from beginning to end, highs, lows. The weather was great. The people were incredible. But please pat yourself on the back. And if you ever need inspiration or proof that you can do something, just go back and sit down and watch it, because I didn't believe I could. And it's not as cliche as it sounds. You have no idea. You have no idea the doubt that I was dealing with leading up to Saturday. And if I could get through that, then you can too. So I encourage you to challenge yourself, even if you have to make up the rules yourself. Pick something, do something, fucking live. Because if you don't, shit can suck. That's a quote you can put on a t-shirt. We're going to move into the post-show, guys. I am very excited to continue to talk with these wonderful friends for a little bit longer. We're not going to keep them long. It is late. But if you'd like to join us in the post-show, you guys know how to do it. Patreon.com/thegingerrunner. Thank you guys so much for tuning into tonight's show. We did something that's never been done before.
Yes.
We broke the rules, broke the mold, changed the game.
Congratulations.
Thanks, babe.
You did it.
We all did it. We all
You
did it.
did it.
Thanks, guys. We'll see you guys in the post-show.
Yay.
Bye. Ginger